Hi everyone, and welcome back to the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. This is Mindy Egan, and in today's video we are going to create a box card featuring the Outside the Box Level Up die set. I'm going to start off by coloring up some images. The stamp set I chose to use today is the Koala-ty stamp set from My Favorite Things. I stamped it onto Neenah 80-pound cardstock in the MFT Extreme Black ink, and I'm going to have all of the colors listed at the top of the screen for you that I'm using for each of the images. I decided to go with some warm grays for my koalas today, so I have W5, 4, 3, 1, and 0. For the rest of them, though, I only used 3 colors. I decided that just having that many was getting to be a lot to switch between, so the rest of them I'll just use a 3-color combination. And then for the shirt, I have B66, 63, and 60. I'm keeping the highlight area of this particular koala right down the center of the critter and the shirt. And for the nose, I did T9, T6, and T4. And typically what I like to do when I'm going to be coloring in images is I will color all of the same area right away. So for instance, I'm coming in now with the color for the nose. I did all of those noses right away. And now I'm bringing back those warm grays. And I think I went with I think it's maybe a W4, 3, and 1. I just kind of eliminated one of the colors in between there just to kind of save some time a little bit. So this is what I mean when I do my coloring is I'm going to go through now and just color all of the koalas at one time so I don't have to keep switching between markers. Just kind of varying the shadow area. So if the critter is facing to the right, I'll keep the highlight area on the right hand side. And I will go in off screen and color all the little shirts. They were kind of small areas, so I just did that off screen. But I will show you the coloring here for the leaves and the tree. Once again, the colors are listed at the top, starting off with my darkest color, which is that YG17. If there's room, I'll use 3 colors, but if it's just too small, I just use my lightest color, which is the YG01. Then for the tree itself and the branch, I'm using E29, 25, 23, and 30 as my highlight color. And I will come in with my E25 afterwards and add just little flicks into the tree to kind of try and give it a little bit of texture. Once all the coloring is done, I'm going to take the coordinating dies, line them up over each of the images and hold them in place with a low tack tape, and then run these through my die cut machine and start working on my box card. There is a piece that die cuts out your backer for the box card and then also kind of an inside piece to that backer. So I'm going to just do some clouds for that inside piece of the backer. To do this, I'm just using, once again, some 80-pound white cardstock, and I am ink blending on some clouds using the Slimline Cloud Edges Stencil. Now I'm working on a make art station. I've been enjoying this lately because it just has magnets to hold down my stencil and my cardstock. It's been really working out well. And I'm also finding I've been enjoying using the Slimline stencils more than a regular stencil. I feel like I just have a little bit more room to either shift it back and forth to get the various clouds on my 4¼ by 5½ inch piece of cardstock. And then to pick it up, because it does kind of like to not really stick, but it just kind of is in place against that mat a little more. So I will pick up the stencil with my tweezers. Once my background is all ink blended, I'm taking that inside backer piece, lining that up over that background, and I'm going to die cut this out. Off screen, I also die cut out all of my pieces that I will use for the outside the box level up, and I die cut most of this from Kraft cardstock, and then I have the grass pieces for the box card die cut from Prickly Pear. So what I'm doing is just going over all of those scored lines that are placed on there from the die, folding those down, and then reinforcing those folds with my bone folder. So I'm getting all of my folds out of the way right away. Now I do have a little oops in this. You might see it right away, but I did not, and I'm leaving it in the video to show you how I fixed it. So for one, I am going to be using the My Favorite Things liquid glue to do all of my adhering. So what I did with this particular side piece is I butted the edges up against the backer piece, folded that flap down, and then all of a sudden realized that I put that on the wrong side. So thankfully, I still had some wiggle room there with the liquid glue. So I just carefully peeled that up. I'm not worried about the mess that it's leaving on the back because I'm going to be covering that up anyway. So I put this on the right side, butted that up to the very edge, and then folded that flap down. And then I can come back to this side, butt that up right against the edge, fold that flap down, and just kind of hold it there for a second or two to make sure it's really adhered down well. And you can't even tell that I actually had an oops in there. Once my outside of the box pieces are set in place, that's the side of the box, I'm bringing in my grass pieces. And I die cut this, like I said, out of the Prickly Pear cardstock from My Favorite Things. And I am gluing down just one side of the flap. I'm putting that as close to the edge of the box. And then I'm just holding it there for a second. Now the grass is going to stick up quite a bit, but you want to just make sure that that flap piece is down below. Once I have that first one done, I'm coming in with another one, just placing that a little bit further down. And so what this is creating is, I look at it as like a stadium seating. So it just kind of gradually goes up as you go. And I think that's really cool. I think you can add, you'll see more of your scene this way with this type of box card. So these are definitely some of my favorites. Now I'm not gluing the other side down yet. I'll show you an easy way to do this, even though it took me a second to kind of figure out my one flap. But you live and you learn when you're working on cards, and I made it work the best that I can. So after I have all 4 of those done, I'm bringing in that backer piece that I created. So that is hiding the flaps. You could do this part after the card is all put together, but I just find it easier to do it when everything is still open. And then I added the liquid glue to my tree and added that to the background as well. So now that I have all that done, I'm going to open up my flaps. So the other side here, the flaps are all facing up. I added liquid glue to them, and then I'm closing the other side of the box over it. Now I had that little bit of a catch there with my front flap, so I just glued that to my grass that's right behind it. And then just folded that over, held that in place for a moment so that it all adheres, and we have our box card. Now the rest of this is just a matter of where you want to place your critters. So you could do these with a tape runner. I just found it easier to do with liquid glue. It gave me a little bit of wiggle room to kind of move things around or tilt them if I wanted to. So you can see I'm kind of getting an idea exactly where I want to place them. Even though it's stadium seating is what I'm going to call it with this type of design, I still want to make sure that I'm leaving room for all of my koalas to be seen from the front of the card. And since it's liquid glue, I just use my tweezers to kind of hold it there for a second or two. What's also really great about these kind of cards is even though it kind of pops up and I guess you could say almost interactive, they fit in a regular A2 size envelope. You just fold them down and place that inside of the envelope. Now I have a sentiment here. This is also off of the Koala-ty stamp set that I'm just stamping in extreme black ink onto white cardstock. And there's also a die that'll cut out this shape that'll fit on the front of our card. So we just have a rectangle here that's going to add stitching around the sentiment. Once I die cut that out, I'm adding a tape runner to it and then placing that right on the front. There are also inside pieces that you can die cut for the side of your box, but I'm kind of keeping the focal point right down the center. So I didn't decorate the sides, but that definitely is an option. So now I have created this really cute box card that talks about giving the best hugs, and this would be great to send to any of your friends or even the teachers, or maybe a student wants to send it to a friend of theirs for the end of the year. Just a really great all-around, all-occasion card to send off. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.